Let's be real for a second. If you had a magic button that could make every single mosquito on Earth just vanish forever, you'd press it, right? I mean, who wouldn't? They're annoying, the bites are the worst, and they're behind some of the deadliest diseases out there. But what if I told you that getting rid of them all could actually be a total disaster? Today, we're going to look at the secret, surprisingly important life of the mosquito.
Okay, so first things first, let's all agree on something. We have very, very good reasons to hate mosquitoes. They aren't just a pass at your backyard cookout. They are, hands down, one of the most dangerous animals to humans on the entire planet. And the numbers, they're just hard to wrap your head around. Just one disease that they carry, malaria, is responsible for about 1 million deaths every single year. 1 million. I mean, that fact alone makes a pretty strong case for just getting rid of them for good.
And yeah, malaria is just the start of it. You look at this list: dengue fever, yellow fever, West Nile virus. It's a brutal reminder of just how good they are at spreading sickness. They're basically tiny flying super spreaders that cause so much suffering all over the world. So yeah, the case against them is pretty solid.
But here's where the whole story gets a lot more interesting. With all that bad stuff, getting rid of them seems like a no-brainer. But in the natural world, the simple answer is almost never the right one. So that gets us thinking, are mosquitoes really just evil, or are they, a necessary evil?
And here's the part that most people just don't know. There are over 3,500 different species of mosquito out there. And get this, out of all of those, only a couple hundred species actually bite humans and spread disease. So the huge majority of mosquitoes, they want absolutely nothing to do with us. They're just out there living their lives, and it turns out they're doing some really important work.
Which brings us to what they're really up to. If we forget about that tiny fraction that bothers us, what are the other 95% of mosquitoes actually doing all day? Well, let's pull back the curtain and find out.
Okay, job number 1, and this is a big one. Mosquitoes are a massive part of the food web. To put it simply, they are food, a lot of it. For tons of other animals, mosquitoes are basically a reliable, all-you-can-eat buffet. And we're talking about a whole bunch of different animals here. When they're just little larvae wiggling around in the water, they're the main course for fish and tadpoles. Then, once they're adults flying around, they get snapped up by birds, bats, dragonflies, you name it. They are a super important meal at the bottom of so many food chains.
Now this one might actually blow your mind a little. When you think pollinator, you think of fuzzy bees and pretty butterflies, right? But would you ever in 1 million years think of a mosquito? Well, it turns out they're actually vital pollinators for some plants.
And this right here clears up one of the biggest myths about them. We think mosquitoes just drink blood, but that's not the whole story. See, only some females drink blood, and they only do it because they need the protein to make eggs. The real food for all adult mosquitoes, males and females, is plant nectar. It's the sugar that gives them the energy to fly.
So as they're zipping from flower to flower, sipping on that nectar, they're carrying pollen with them. Now, they're not as good at it as bees, for sure, but they are the main pollinators for some very specific plants, like certain types of orchids. And they play a huge role up in the Arctic, where, let's be honest, there aren't a lot of other pollinators to do the job.
Okay, their third secret job takes us right back to the water where they start their lives. During that larval stage, mosquitoes are basically nature's little water filters. These little larvae, they eat everything. All the gunk in the water, like decaying leaves and tiny organisms, they just gobble it all up. And by doing that, they're not only cleaning the water, but they're breaking down all that stuff and turning it into nutrients that plants can actually use. They're tiny but mighty recycling machines. So, knowing all that, let's circle back to our big question. What would really happen if we pushed that magic button and just wiped them all out? What would a world without any mosquitoes actually look like?
Well, the number one rule of ecology is that everything is connected, kind of like a giant invisible web.
And when you tug on one of those threads, or, just yank one out completely,
The whole thing can start to fall apart. It's what scientists call a trophic cascade, which is really just a fancy way of saying that taking out one little piece can cause a massive domino effect all the way through the ecosystem.
And the Arctic tundra is a perfect example. Scientists think that if you took mosquitoes out of the Arctic, the population of migratory birds that go there to nest could drop by more than half. That's huge. And get this, caribou herds literally change their entire migration routes to avoid the giant swarms of mosquitoes. If the swarms went there, the caribou would wander differently, changing the whole landscape. So, it's pretty clear that our relationship with the mosquito isn't some simple story of good guys and bad guys. It's way more complicated than that. It's this delicate balance between how dangerous they can be and how necessary they are for the environment.
You know, as the ecologist Janet Fang put it in the journal Nature, wiping them out completely, especially somewhere sensitive like the Arctic, would really mess with the ecological balance. You just can't remove a piece that's been part of the system for millions of years and not expect some pretty serious side effects.
So, what's the big takeaway here? It's all about being smart. The goal for us shouldn't be to get rid of all 3,500 species of mosquito. Nope. The focus is on finding better, more targeted ways to control just those few hundred species that actually spread disease, while letting all the others do their important, secret jobs. And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. The mosquito is the perfect example of something we see as just a pest, but it has this whole other secret life that's actually really important. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other pests, from the flies in your kitchen to the weeds in your garden, might be playing a critical role that we just can't see yet?